say the Alexander work as presented to us from Alexander, and then we have to die at some point, so he leaves. And then you have 3 people that studied with him in England who decided to carry on the mantle, and each person experienced Alexander's teaching for a good length of time, both privately and in the training. Each person is taking in the information into who they are. It's going to come out differently. But the similar thing are the directions, because the directions are written in the book. The directions are in constructive conscious control. He's very specific about what he says you should teach. You put the person in a chair or take them in and out of a chair. You put their hands on the back of a chair and you guide them. It's all in constructive conscious control. I could never ever teach this way. Never. I was not taught that way. Walter taught it that way. Patrick taught it that way. And Bill Barlow taught it that way. Frank came at it completely differently. He was not English. The English tenure is somewhat proper. That's in the English culture. The Americans are a bit more experimental, and they're a little bit more laid back. And they think they have more space available to them because of the width of the country. I'm serious.
Yeah.
And in England and Europe, they have less space. And so all of that's part of the way the work came to us. So when you let your neck, these are the words, I let my neck be free. Free to do what? Well, free to do what it's designed to do. I had to figure this out because nobody was telling me. If you let your neck be free for a moment in nervous system time, you are not doing what you usually do. I let my neck be free. I have changed my whole perception about myself relative to another person. All I'm doing is letting something happen. They then walk away. So in the nervous system, you're letting your neck be free to lengthen, to expand, as opposed to contract, overly contract. There's nothing wrong with contraction. You need contraction in your body. You need tension. Tension is absolutely essential. An inappropriate amount of tension is not essential. So, you're letting your neck be free to lengthen, the purpose of which is to allow a movement of the head away from the body. Forward and up was Alexander's words. Sometimes the head knows more about where it needs to go, and it's not forward enough, but it is away from the body. You're letting your neck be free to lengthen so your head can move away from the body forward and up, or move as it needs to move, which then allows the spine to lengthen. And when the spine lengthens, the back widens. Why? Because when the spine lengthens, you separate the head, the cranium, from the jaw, from the face. And when you do that, the spine lengthens. If they're closed together, the spine is not lengthening. So it all happens together in one moment. So you stand there or sit there, and you let your neck be free to lengthen, the purpose of which is to allow a movement of the head away from the body forward and up, so that the spine is allowed to lengthen, and then the back on the breath widens. You do that over and over and over with your hands on the back of the chair, going in and out of what they used to call monkey. You do that, you train yourself to do the Alexander approach to lengthening your spine.
Unknown caller.
Don't worry about it. So, what you're doing, you've chosen to read standing as opposed to sitting. Now, most people, when they sit down and read and study, the brain says, you're sitting down and you're studying. And the brain has learned this over time. When you're standing, you're fully upright. Your feet are picking up cues from gravity. And the whole of your body is activated in a completely different way. It's hard to answer. Last night, I'm standing in the kitchen, and right through here, it feels really tight. It's probably the first or the second cervical vertebra is out of alignment, right here. It's pulling down through here in my head. I said, I would like for my body to put itself back into place. All of a sudden, it happened. All of the discomfort went away. But that's because I talk to my body as cellular consciousness every day in meditation. And what you're doing is you're unwinding. It's not the Alexander work when you're reading. So it's more complete, and the way that you move is the way that, if I work, I'll do it with each of you. If you're reading, and I come and do the Alexander approach, you're going to feel more upright. And Alexander's hypothesis was, if we're designed to be upright, then we can live with that uprightness and everything is working fine. But when we start pulling into ourselves for whatever reason, we're working against ourselves. So from this postural point of view, you're upright. So when you're standing and you're not focusing on lengthening the neck and the head and letting it move away from the body, which is to be particular, then the body itself will start to keep you from being static. In other words, if I'm standing here reading, and I'm just reading, I'm focusing on reading, I'm reading, you will experience not being free. You may not even know that, but the body knows that. So the body will start doing this because you're just standing. It could be doing something like this. It could be doing a variety of movements, and I've seen it happen enough to know that there are specific movements that everybody has when you don't release the neck and the head. When you release the neck and the head, you don't move. If you free the person from what they're doing, then the body will find its own avenues for release given their use. Because you've trained yourself to read for long periods of time, to stand, that's probably, to some degree, why you do the particular movement that you do. So when you want to let yourself move, you're just going to start moving. That's not the Alexander work. It actually gets in the way of the Alexander work. But it facilitates the Alexander work because it's undoing all the little beaver dams that you've created inside. You know a beaver dam?
Beaver dam.
A beaver is an animal that lives in the water.
Beaver dam.
And cuts down the trees and brings
They cut down trees and they build a dam.
Yeah.
But they don't do it for any particular purpose. I don't know what the purpose is. But the water then flows this way. You have to watch. The water usually flows like this. But if a beaver dam is here, the water goes whoosh. That's exactly what happens in the body. If I'm doing this, the movement of my energy goes, hits the beaver dam and moves around like that. Pretty soon my shoulders beaver dance. If you have an operation, you know, when a woman delivers the cesarean, there's a beaver dam right there. There's a beaver dam. And when you try to get the head to come up, nothing's moving down here.
Yeah.
You free right here, she comes up.